That's good tea. Alright, research time. Alright, Meredith, what do you got for Millionaire?
And this is Millionaire like you have never seen it before. I want you to listen to this. That is the dreaded clock that we have added to gameplay on every question, and that means that Millionaire is going to be faster, more exciting, and much more nerve-wracking than ever before.
Nope. Not doing it. Not today. Alright. Get that open. UKGameShows.com. 2014 Hall of Shame. I'll take one of these at random. Yeah, that'll do, I guess. Alright, let's get cutting.
One thing was for sure. They both believe Sparks to be a total 2.
Be an exciting contest which shows that divorced couples can still have fun together, right?
Mythological hero H-list. C. On the spot dice spin.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Yeah, I know. It's another UK-based induction, but let me try to explain myself a little bit. I couldn't sit through a regular episode of Millionaire with Meredith Vieira as host, let alone an episode from the clock format. I mean, it was just painful to sit through. So, I'm not doing it. I just can't. So instead, I'm going to do a show that pissed off both Chase fans and also fans of Eggheads. It can only be the 2014 disaster on BBC Two called Revenge of the Egghead. I hope you enjoy it.
These 5 contestants are hoping to walk away today thousands of pounds richer. Standing in their way is one of the most formidable quizzers to grace the Eggheads team, CJ Demouy. This is Revenge of the Egghead.
Revenge of the Egghead is the second spin-off show from the venerable Eggheads franchise from 12 Yard Productions. The original show is a fairly straightforward quizzer where a group of quiz champions, known as the Eggheads, face off against another quiz team who aren't as well known as them, and they compete against each other in what has been called gladiators for smart people. If the quiz team beats the Eggheads, they win a cash jackpot that starts at £1,000 a day and grows by £1,000 each day it's not won. It's a good show and it is still going to this day. My only problem is that it's a little tedious and dull, but then again, that is the nature of the program. So now we go to 2014 and 12 Yard Productions announcing there's going to be a new version of the Eggheads, where one Egghead will take on 5 normal people in a battle to determine if they can outsmart the Egghead and win a cash prize. Doesn't sound like a bad idea in theory, although as you'll see, it's been done better in every way by the Chase. Every way. So let's get started in dissecting this disaster by talking about the Egghead in question, and that is CJ Demouy. The Egghead that was the main feature of the show is CJ Demouy. He was the original villain of the Eggheads team, being the smug kid of the group that people just wanted to smack upside the head. As time wore on, though, he would drop that role and become more likable. On this show, though, the villain role was thrusted upon him, and it was really forced beyond belief, to the point where everything was scripted, and the actual CJ, I believe, was replaced by a lookalike from Central Casting. I originally was going to draw the comparison between him and Howard Schwab from Stump the Schwab, but Schwabi was very likable, and he wasn't that comfortable in a villain role anyway. I'm guessing that CJ reprised the villain role because his title event was being usurped by 4 other quiz brains who are now the daytime villains of the quiz world and are actually quite likable. Just, who are they again?
Good. Time to face a chaser now, but who will you be up against today? Will it be the beast, Mark Lebet, They say that genetically our closest relatives are chimpanzees. With the beast, it's a meat feast pizza. Or what about the Dark Destroyer, Sean Wallace? He's really got an exciting evening planned. He's going to pull the fridge out and have a good clean round the back of it. Or perhaps it's the Governess Anne Hegarty, scarier than Voldemort's granny. Or maybe it is the Cinnamon, Paul Sinner, a tongue so sharp we use him to carve the Sunday roast. Who do you want to take on?
And we're going to be making more Chase references here because while the 4, well, now 5, because of Jenny Ryan's upcoming debut in September, they all have a personality and are more than happy to give kudos to those teams who beat them fairly or answer a question that they misplayed. CJ really doesn't do that, but instead begrudgingly gives them kudos even if he doesn't believe they are earned, which is basically all the time, and unlike the Chasers who will give some commiserations when they win, CJ would rather rub it in.
And you lose your last life.
He's a lucky man, isn't he? Sitting over there.
If I could just comment one thing.
Yes!
CJ.
Yeah, shut up, you wanker. No wonder people thought that this was a really low-rent version of the Chase. And we haven't even talked about the format yet. So let's do so right now. Oh, and guess what? Expect more Chase references starting right about, now. Actually, when it comes to the rules, I'll just let host Jeremy Vine explain the rules.
None of you know each other, didn't meet before today, but you'll be building up a prize fund together by individually answering general knowledge questions.
I've heard that before, and that's the premise of the Chase. 5 complete strangers go up against 1 quiz brain for a prize fund. Actually, 4 on the Chase, because they're allowed to have the contestants have personalities of their own, instead of the 5 cardboard cutouts they call contestants here. The game goes as follows. Each contestant is asked a question by the host Tron 3000, aka Jeremy Vine, and each correct answer is worth 200 quid added to the team's prize fund. Wayney strike counters CJ with a big cartoon-style buzzer. If somebody gives a wrong answer, and if he knows the right answer, then he'll hit his buzzer, give the right answer, and then the teammate has to answer a ridiculously hard multiple-choice question written by CJ himself. If they get it right, they are safe. If they are wrong, then they lose a life. Wait a minute, I've seen this before. This is what happens when the kids spin uh-oh in the game uh-oh. Each contestant is staked 2 lives, and losing their second life eliminates the player from the game. While it's a solid format, it's really, really tedious to sit through. It's dry and dull even compared to the original Egghead show. The worst part about this is that it's just 10 to 13 minutes of this before we hear a klaxon moving on to the final part of the game. Now we'll talk about the show being cheap. At most, the prize fund goes up to somewhere between £3,000 and £4,000. Splitting that 5 ways is about £600 to £800, and that's barely enough to pay that month's rent. It is really cheap, even for BBC 2 standards, and for current tea time game shows when you have shows like Pointless, which is on BBC 1, and the other fairs such as The Chase, Tipping Point, and even Eggheads itself, those shows are more generous with their money than this show. I don't know who to fault with the budget of the show, either 12 Yard or the BBC, but it's still pretty damn cheap. Now before we talk about the endgame, there's something I want to get off my chest, and that's the title itself. The show is called Revenge of the Egghead. Now, what does CJ actually get his revenge on anyways? You have 5 strangers that he's never seen before coming against him to try to win some money. Have they wronged him on social media before? Did they pick on him as a child? No. Did they beat him on Eggheads before? No. So the title makes absolutely no sense. CJ isn't getting revenge. CJ is just pounding people down like people, well, I don't know, the Chase would do. Let's be honest here. The only reason the show is called Revenge of the Egghead is because they needed a hook for the show in order to sell it to BBC 2. Without that hook, nobody wanted to pick this up because there's nothing more than a limp-wristed version of the Chase. Now let's talk about the endgame. And how did they do their endgame? Well, pretty much how the Chase usually does its endgame. But as Pat Finn says on The Joker's Wild...
right now, because we're going to reverse the process.
Thank you, Pat. And I'm not going to call this Revenge of the Eggheads anymore. I'm calling it CJ versus the UK. So in CJ versus the UK, CJ is asked 10 questions. How many CJ gets right is how many the team has to be without using their remaining total lives. So let's say if all 5 members of the team make it through with 8 lives, they're allowed to make 7 mistakes before they reach the magical number that CJ got right. If they run out of lives, they lose the money in the prize fund. If they beat CJ, they split the money in the prize fund, which is usually on between $600 and $800 per person depending on the episode. And that's the end of the show. Some more of CJ either flexing if he won or him crying over losing to a team of nobodies, and we roll credits. And that's Revenge of the Egghead. It's bland and boring in all of the worst ways and nothing more than a ripoff of The Chase. Let's be honest. It's nothing special, just venal. Nothing magical, just there to make money. It's a horrible exploitation of a franchise name just to get it on the air in the purpose for ratings. Everything about the show looks cheap and like a major cash grab. The CJ's forced villainy, to the cheapness of the set, to the cheapness of the payouts, the rounds being either boring or what the Chase is doing, but as backwards. This show only lasted 30 episodes before being thrown out like the horribly done omelet that this show is. Okay, with that one down, there's only 3 more inductions to go before we close up shop as a regular thing here on Game Show Garbage. We have the 2 Wayney inductions to go, but there's one more normal one left of my choosing. I'm going to go after one of the most exploitive TV shows of all time. And not only that show, but a couple other shows that tried to cash in on the exploitiveness. Bye-bye!
You